Hello, everybody in Spirit Sanctorium. Okay, I'm hoping that the volume works now. I tested the microphone and it seemed like it was working, so I'm going to keep going. If you want to come and let me know that you can hear me, that'd be great. But I'm going to just keep going and I'm going to pretend like everybody can hear me. Okay, I've been wanting to do this live for a little while because, well, let me just start with saying I'm Julie. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a co creator and an elder in Spirit Sanctorium. And I facilitate the dream tending space here inside the network. And so you can find that on your left hand navigation side. It's under Dream Collection. And then you'll find Dream Tending. And you can go in there, and that space is to work with all things dreams. So today we're talking about nightmares. So why did I decide to talk about this today? Well, last week sometime I posted a poll inside of Dream Tending, and I asked folks what gets in the way of working with your dreams. I'd still love to know that answer for everybody that wants to chime in. So you can do that. You can find the poll. It's pretty easy. It's near the top. You can go answer. You can chat in here. For those of you who are watching, if you're watching the replay, you can certainly leave a comment. What gets in the way of you working with your dreams? The reason I wanted to do this live today, though, is because one dreamer answered that she's actually really frightened of her dreams, that they're horrific or really provocative. So in some way, they're causing like really high sensations, almost too much, almost too high sensation. And so her reaction to that is to naturally, of course, want to run away from it. And we're taught that from an early age, right? Like, when we have dreams as a kid, our parents tell us it's just a dream. Even though I've been doing dream work for almost 20 years, I found myself saying the same thing to my daughter when she was little and she was having nightmares. So it is a programmed sort of thing within us to turn away from things that are scary and frightening. And that goes for dreams and that goes for waking life too. Um, One of our great skills that we can develop as alchemists is to turn towards things rather than away from things. Now, you get to have boundaries even as you turn towards things. You get to have boundaries. So I just want to say that at the outset. Please do not push through anything. I don't advocate pushing through anything. I don't advocate staying in a space where you're not safe. However, if we can develop the capacity within our bodies and Maggie did a really great job of talking about this in her first lesson of Avatar. So you might check that out as well as a resource. But as much as we can develop the capacity to maybe not even turn toward, like maybe that's a step that we can't quite take yet, but just sit with sensations that feel like they're too much for us, that feel like we'd love to turn away from them. We don't want to deal with them. We want to hide from them. We want to fight them. Developing the capacity to just be with is going to open up a whole new world of possibilities for you. So I want to offer a ton of compassion for these types of dreams. I've had these types of dreams. I've had nightmares. I've had, dreams that just felt like too much. And I've definitely turned away from my share of dreams. So I want to offer just a ton of compassion here. They're hard dreams to work with. These high body sensations, for me, everybody reacts differently, but for me, I kind of go into a freeze response and just everything shuts down. However, what I've learned is in my capacity as a somatic coach and as my capacity as a dream worker, dream facilitator, is that there's actually so much medicine, so much gold, so much potential healing in nightmares. In Jeremy Taylor's book, The Wisdom of Your Dreams, he says that there's no such thing as bad dreams. So he has 10 basic assumptions about dream work within that book. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. And one assumption that he talks about is that every single dream comes to us in service. It's coming to us to help us. And so, taking that further, he has a whole chapter on nightmares. And he says there's no such thing as a bad dream, meaning dreams, especially nightmares that have high sensations, are not bad dreams. There's actually quite good dreams, meaning they bring a lot of opportunity to us, a lot of gifts, a lot of medicine to us. And I have to say that with all the dream workers that I've worked with personally, and all the dream workers that I've read their books and other sort of wisdom keepers with dream work, pretty much everybody echoes the same sentiment that there's no such thing as bad dreams, and that nightmares actually hold quite a bit of medicine for us. My own experience backs this up too. It's been a long time since I've had what I would call a nightmare. I've had dreams where um, definitely in the past they would have been uncomfortable, but as I've on purpose worked with my dreams and worked with nightmares, I very rarely have a dream that startles me awake. And when I do, I actually now am excited about it because I know that it is my subconscious coming to tell me something extremely important. So I want to um, I want to make a little reference here. Did you see the movie Inside Out? So it was, I guess it came out when my daughter was little, so maybe like 10 years ago. It's a Pixar animated film, and I think it does an amazing job depicting what our emotions, kind of an explanation of the interface between our emotions and the way that our body works, and how each emotion has a job to do, and they're all important. So in this film, there's the main character, sort of the main character is this little girl who has to move across the country with her family. And all of her emotions are depicted as these characters. So there's joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. And at one point in the movie, the little girl is having a dream and they need to wake her up. I don't remember why they need to wake her up, but they need to wake her up. And so Joy, the character of Joy, is trying to like put on a song and dance and tap show and wake her up and make her happy enough to wake up. And Sadness keeps saying, no, you have to scare her to wake her up. You have to scare her to wake her up. So that's what nightmares are doing. They are literally and figuratively coming to wake us up. They're desperately trying to get to our attention because what they have to say is super, super important. And I promise you, if our dreams could tell us any other way, they would, but they bring us big sensations on purpose so that we will pay attention. In coaching, I often tell my clients that we get guidance and messages as whispers first. And then if we don't pay attention to those whispers, often we get a shout. Something bigger tries to get our attention. If we don't pay attention to that, then sometimes we get a 2x4 whack upside the head. And if we don't pay attention to that, we get the Mack truck. And that might look like a really significant loss, like a loss of a job or a death of someone that we love, a major illness. I actually have a friend whose husband literally got hit by a car. So these are these big life happenings. And that isn't to say that these things happen, we cause these things to happen. That's not what I'm saying. But oftentimes, if we aren't paying attention to these little nigglings, these little pieces of guidance, they have to get louder and get louder and get louder. And so the medicine in our nightmares is usually, I would say, the shout that comes before the 2x4 whack, or the Mack truck for sure. It might be somewhere between a shout and a 2x4, or somewhere between a 2x4 and the Mack truck. They come when the situation that we find ourselves is just not working anymore. It's untenable. They come as a warning to change something. So that might mean that we need to leave a relationship or a job. Maybe they come as a warning that someone or something is not as they seem, or maybe they come to talk to us about a pattern that we continue to play out that is not only not working anymore, but actually getting kind of dangerous for us. So, working with nightmares on your own can be super, super challenging. Why? Well, because the high sensations and nightmares really make it difficult for us to turn toward them, right? Like these high sensations make us want to turn away from them. It can be scary. Like, I think that there is a knowing that we have that the medicine is going to show us something that we've really not been interested in looking at in waking life, that we've maybe even been trying to actively ignore. Another reason why they're very difficult to work with is because usually we have been refusing that in waking life. We've been refusing to look at whatever it is this whisper is coming to tell us about. And so, since we are invested in this refusal, um, we may not see actually what the nightmare is coming to talk to us about. It may be literally still in shadow. We may be unable to see what the nightmare might be coming to talk to us about. And we might do something like work with the dream and get to a place where we're like, well, I already know that. So if you get to that place, especially with a nightmare where you say, I already know this, I invite you to dig deeper because it is coming to tell you something that you don't know. Or if you are saying, I already know this, then ask yourself, well, if you already know this, have you done the things that you know you need to do? Because sometimes we already know a thing and we know we need to do a thing, but we don't actually take the action. And again, that might be for a variety of reasons. There might be lots and lots of at stake for taking that action, right? So, so much compassion and radical acceptance for wherever you are with that. I'm just saying that this is why it can make working with nightmares more difficult, because this thing that the nightmare is coming to tell you about or to tell you to do might feel really high stakes. It might be feel really frightening. You might really like doubt your capability to be able to take action or to work on this particular issue that the nightmare is coming to talk to you about. And then, of course, it can be difficult to work with nightmares because we've been taught our whole lives to dismiss them. So that can be it can be a little bit of a talking ourselves into it. We've also been given strategies for dealing with nightmares that pit us against the nightmare. I've run into lots of clients that talk to me about how they have nightmares or recurring dreams or recurring nightmares. And their strategy for dealing with it is to, sort of like beat the nightmare, best the nightmare in some way. And so, an example of that is in the nightmare, maybe someone's chasing you and you try to wake yourself up, or you try to, kill the person who's chasing you or something like that. Rarely do we approach them because this wisdom isn't as well known, I think, as it could be. Um, Rarely are we told that nightmares are a precious gift and to approach them with gratitude and then reasonable approval. So, those are the reasons why it's difficult to work with nightmares on your own, which means that it's much easier to work with nightmares in community, in relationships. So, this is a wonderful place for you to get support. These nightmares are great places to um, get support, to come to dream tending and share your nightmares, to find a dream buddy that is willing to trade dream work with you, to hire a dream coach. There's so many different ways to get support with your nightmares. Talk to your therapist, talk to your coach about your nightmare. It'll help you if you get support with this. It'll help you be with those sensations in your body. You have another person to help you regulate as you sit with the sensations and the messages and the direction and the medicine that the nightmare is bringing you. Um, Also, when you share dream work with another person, um, it helps you see connections that you've been unwilling or unable to see. So, this is why for nightmares or for just any dream, this is why I'm a huge advocate of doing dream work in community. Definitely do your own dream work, do your solo dream work. That's wonderful. Awesome. Keep doing that. And also, there's a whole new level when you come into community and you do dream work because there are people that can help you see what you can't see, or what you're unable to see. And then lastly, if you come and you get support with your nightmares or any other dream in dream tending or with a dream buddy or with a dream coach or your therapist or somebody else, you have a chance to be held in such a compassionate way, and to be given all of this compassion and love as you wrestle with these sometimes really difficult feelings or insights and themes. And that experience in itself is so deeply healing. I cannot tell you how healing it is. It's way more healing to be in community and receive this type of witnessing from other people than to try to do this on our own. In fact, actually, in our own work, our own individual work, we often skip over the compassion and the empathy. We want to get straight to fixing the thing, to fixing the emotion. So it's so deeply healing to be in community and to be witnessed in the difficult, messy, chaotic, um, you know, the things that are sort of like really created in childhood and have a real tender, childlike aspect to them. So, how do you work with your nightmares? On your own, if you want to work with your nightmares, you can start in a few places. So, first of all, I want to let you know that dreams have an expiration date. So, if you have a nightmare and you need to take it bite by bite and little by little, in order to work with it, that's totally fine. There's no urgency in doing this. I see that somebody else is watching. Stacy's watching and Sari, and I'm curious if either of you can hear me. If you would leave something in the chat that would let me know that you can hear me or you can't hear me, that'd be great. But I'm going to keep going. Okay, so they don't have an expiration date. So as you're working with your nightmares, you can do, yay, Sari can hear me. I'm so excited. Stacy can hear me. Yay, I'm so excited. I don't know what happened last time with the mic. I don't know what I did different this time, but it's working. So that's wonderful. Okay. So just remember that dreams, no dreams, especially nightmares, there's no urgency to them. They have no expiration date. I think of my dreams sometimes like an oracle deck, and I recognize that whatever my dream is bringing me will be as true for me today as it is for me next week or next year. It might be that there's another layer that I uncover next week or next year than the one that I'm able to uncover now. But it's really based on what's present for me. Oh, I'm so glad, Stacy. I'm so glad you're getting some great information from this. Okay, so to work with your nightmares on your own, first of all, I would start with I would definitely write down the nightmare as soon as possible, because nightmares are one of the, although they are designed to stay with you so that you take action and work with them, the more we sort of go throughout our day ignoring the nightmare, the more we lose the details and the sensations of the nightmare. So I would definitely write it down as soon as possible when I wake up. If that's the middle of the night, if that's the morning, right before I get out of bed, write it down as soon as possible. Write down the details and write down the feelings. The feelings, I take a somatic approach to dream work, and I would say that the feelings and the sensations in your body with nightmares are some of the most important information to untangling the nightmare for yourself. So definitely write down the feelings and the sensations in your body. And then from there, if you have the capacity to work with it, great. If you don't, come back to it. So I always start with my dream work. I always start with three questions. I start with, how did I feel in the dream? How do I feel about the dream? And I do two different feelings. And the reason is because sometimes how we feel in the dream and how we feel about the dream is different. And the intersection of those two feelings can tell us a lot. So an example is, this isn't a nightmare, but this is the example that I use. Yeah, absolutely voice memo your dreams and nightmares as soon as you wake up, whatever works for you. So when recording your dreams, if a voice memo works for you, I know that Sari types in the dark or whatever on her phone, keep a dream journal, whatever works for you. That's great, Stacy. Wonderful. So where was I? Oh, right. So the example is I had this dream once. Yeah, and then you get the fun experience, right, Sarah, of figuring out like what in the world was I trying to say there? And Sarah and I have this experience too. Like sometimes when we're doing the like blind typing in the middle of the night, we accidentally type something different, or the autocorrect chooses a different word for us, and we go back, and like that kind of fun intersection is always fun too. To sort of, I remember one time I wrote down, I had this dream about Cheerios, and I accidentally wrote down Cheetos, and I was like, why did I do that? And actually got quite a bit out of it with that dream. But back to what I was talking about. So, how you feel in the dream and how you feel about the dream. I had a dream once where I was in bed with my cousin and we were having sex, and it was a huge turn on and it was amazing in the dream. Of course, I woke up from the dream. I was like, oh my God, I was having sex with my cousin. I can't believe that. How disgusting is that? How sick am I? All those things, right? So that inquiry, right, that intersection between those two feelings, it led me into a whole question of like, well, how do I feel about my desire and my sexuality and my intimacy? Where am I feeling like that's taboo or that's not allowed? And that opened up a whole, just that question right there opened up a whole place for me to examine where that was true in my life. So figuring out how you feel in the nightmare and then how you feel about the nightmare, very, very important keys to understanding the nightmare. And then the third question that I ask myself with any dream, especially nightmares though, is what feels familiar to me in my waking life? So if I were working with a nightmare, I would ask myself, where am I feeling this anxiety? Where am I feeling like I'm being chased? Where am I feeling like one time I had a nightmare that some kind of spirit lifted me up and spun me around the ceiling. So where am I feeling out of control, or where am I feeling like, some kind of unseen forces are guiding my life and I don't have any control over this? Um, so I think that's the best place to start with nightmares, is to start with the feelings and asking yourself, where in waking life are you feeling this? So from there, there's a whole other, you've got all kinds of things available to you. You've got the alien dream interpretation method. You've got working with symbols from a Jungian perspective. You've got a Gestalt method where you're looking at all the different aspects of the dream as an aspect of yourself. There's all kinds of different ways that you can continue to engage in this dream. However, just starting with those three questions, how do I feel in the dream? How do I feel about the dream? And what feels familiar to me in my waking life, I think is going to begin to unlock something for you. It's going to begin to unlock that medicine for you. Okay, that was a lot. I would love to know if you have any questions. I would love to know your nightmares. So if you want to come into dream tending and you want to post your nightmares and you want to start feeling this deep healing that is available to you when you share your dreams in community. We've been working with persecution dreams. When we had our first dream tending session at the beginning of the month, we were working with persecution dreams. I think many of those are nightmares. And in fact, actually, I think Sarah, you brought your dream and it was a nightmare. And I think Elena's was a nightmare as well. So that fits in with the theme of persecution, and we can certainly put that lens on it. We don't have to put that lens on it, but we certainly can if we want to. So that was a lot of information. I hope that it was helpful. I would love to hear your questions, and I would love to work with your nightmares. So if you've got a nightmare that that you want to work with, go put it in dream tending, and we'll get started. Get started unraveling the medicine for you. I am going to ask you, as you put the nightmare in there, if it feels available to you, go ahead and answer those three questions. How do I feel in the dream? How do I feel about the dream? And what feels familiar to me? If it doesn't, like if you need some facilitation, you need some guidance, ask for that. If there's something that's a no for you, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want advice, or I don't want this, put your boundaries in there. That's totally cool. All right, everybody, I'm so glad you can hear me. I'm so glad that I got to do this live and share this information with you. Thank you, Stacy and Sari, for watching today. Thank you for everybody that watches the replay, and we'll see you in dream tending, okay? Bye, everybody. Sweet dreams.